Using Enzo as the voice was kind of a prerequisite. I had the idea for Enzo first, and then the story came. You know, people often ask what comes first, the idea or the character, the plot or the character, and it's not as simple as that. They're very integrated. However, I did know that I had a voice of a dog who was going to be kind of funny and snarky and judgmental, and he would basically walk around saying to himself, I'm smarter than every person in this room, but my tongue won't form words, so no one listens to me, and I don't have thumbs, so I can't open doors. If I had those two things, I could rule the world, because I'm way faster than them, and I can't get salmonella because my body is immune to it. So, you know, that's where this idea of Enzo came from. So when I first started writing him, he was pretty edgy and judgmental. And then as I got to know Enzo, he explained to me that he is not that at all, and ended up being the character that he is. I was racing at the time, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I was racing in a class of spec cars, so all the cars are the same. And the trick with that is we have to improve the driver. It's the joke in the paddock is we have to tighten the nut behind the wheel, right? So the being your head, right? The driver is the difference. And so we would all kind of philosophize and talk to each other in the paddock about how do we get a better mental approach to racing so we can be faster as a driver, because our cars are pretty much the same. And so out of that come these real, you know, these are all the things in the book and in the movie are real aphorisms. You know, your car goes where your eyes go. Big eyes, far eyes, you know, all these sorts of lessons that the track teaches us. We apply on the track, and my friends and I would sit around and we'd say, you know, if we could apply the rules that make you better as a race car driver to our own personal lives, we'd be really good people. I didn't know I was going to write a book about racing. I was just racing. And I took my competition class. You have to take a licensing class. I took my competition class from a guy named Don Kitch, who turns out to be a character in the book. And it's up in Seattle. I'm from Seattle, and in Seattle, it rains a lot, believe it or not. And so you have to be prepared to race on a wet track. So Don Kitch in his competition class handed out a little pamphlet that said The Art of Racing in the Rain. And it was about how do we prepare ourselves mentally, what we were just talking about, prepare ourselves mentally for a wet track so that we're not driving out of fear. Most people who are not prepared are letting the rain or the wet track condition dictate how the car is going to handle, as opposed to making the car do something. And Denny explains this in pretty good detail in the book, but the idea of, again, controlling our own destiny, if I make a car spin, and I can do it, I can correct for it. If I know I'm making it spin, I've already started correcting for it before it's even started to spin. If I go into a turn and the car spins on its own and I'm not prepared for it, that's where panic and fear come in. You know, it does speak to the relationships we have with our pets. You know, it's all about, I think, unconditional love. They don't ask much from us. We don't ask much from them except for love. And that's a really true and wonderful relationship. And I think it would be great if we as people could treat each other a lot more like dogs. I mean, in a good way. Like, so all love, no judgment. That's no expectations, just love. It's so easy to get in the way and not even notice it. And those are books that you get 2/3 of the way through and you think, God, I love the characters and I love the voice and I love everything about this book is so great, but then 2/3 of the way through something happens and you're like, what? I don't think so. I don't think the character would have done that. I just don't buy it. That's because the writer forced the character to do something against the character's nature. So we have to be very sensitive about that. And it doesn't come first time. First drafts are meant to be disposable. They're first drafts. It's getting our ideas down. We don't know what the ending is going to be until the ending tells us what it's going to be. Then, once the ending has told us what it wants to be, then we have to go back to the beginning and change everything to make it conform with our new ending, because we were just guessing. Sometimes we're really good at guessing. We're throwing darts blindfolded and bullseye, 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 rock on, but not usually. And so we have to be patient with ourselves, and we have to be pretty disciplined about it, about saying, I loved that, but it doesn't fit.